Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. So, till now we had been studying the commentary of Bhagavata Shankaracharya on the first sutra of the Brahma Sutras, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now we go to the second sutra, that is Janmadhyasya Yatah. That is the second sutra. And to that second sutra, Shankaracharya gives a small connection, a small introduction. He says, Brahma Jigyasitavyam iti uktam. It has been told that Brahman has to be known, or it has to be desired to be known. Brahma Jigyasitavyam iti uktam. But Kim Lakshanam Punaha Tad Brahma. Kim Lakshanam. What is the nature of that Brahman? Ityata. If one asks like that, to this question, Aha, it is said, Bhagavan Sutrakaraha. By Bhagavan Sutrakaraha, that is by the one who is having the qualities of Bhaga, is called Bhagavan. A person who has Jnana is called Jnanavan. A person who has Dhana or wealth is called Dhanavan. So like that, Bhagavan. Bhagavan Sutrakaraha Aha. So the person who has the qualities of Bhaga and who is the Sutrakara, one who has written the sutras. So Bhaga is like a honorific expression. To call someone honorably, you use the word Bhaga. What does it mean? Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasaha shriyaha jnana vairagyos chaiva shannam bhaga itingana. So a person who has the qualities of Aishwarya, splendor, Virya, Virya means courage or energy, vigor. Then Yashasaha, fame, Shriya, one who has wealth, prosperity, Jnana, knowledge, and Vairagya, dispassion. 6 qualities. One who has these 6 qualities is called, these 6 qualities are called Bhaga. One who has these 6 qualities is called Bhagavan. So Bhagavan Sutrakaraha, that is Veda Vyasa, he is telling. What is he telling? He is telling the meaning or the definition. He is defining Brahman. He is defining Brahman because Brahman has to be desired to be known. Brahma Jigyasa means the desire to know Brahman is there. So now he is being defined by Bhagavan Sutrakara. Lest somebody has the question that what is this Brahman? You want us to know what is this Brahman? So the definition or the second sutra is Janmadhyasya Yataha. That means Janmadi Asya Yataha. Yataha means from where? From where? Janma Adi Asya. Of this means of this universe. Janma Adi, birth, etc. or birth and so on. So what is birth and so on? We might have seen this earlier also. In the Vedic Samskrita language, it is difficult to understand the meanings of the words used in the sense they are used in the Vedas. So for that, we refer to a particular kind of lexicon or dictionary, which is called Nirukta. Yaska is the last compiler of such a Nirukta, and there he talks about 6 states of anything that is born. Shad Vikaraha, 6 modifications. And these modifications, everything that is born or created have to undergo. So that is what Janma Adi. So that those stages are Jayate is born, Asti comes into being, Vardhate grows, Viparinamate transforms, takes different transformations, and Apakshiyate decays, and Nashyati is destroyed. So here, Janmadi, all the 6 kinds of stages or modifications of whatever is born, Asya, of what? Of this universe. Whatever we see, whatever we can perceive by our senses, Yatah, from where it comes. So that is Brahman. So Athato Brahma Jigyasa, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, Atah Brahma Jigyasa, the desire to know Brahman. So the desire to know Brahman. So what is Brahman? Janmadi Yasya, Janmadyasya Yatah, Janmadi Asya Yatah, of this universe from where birth, etc. takes place. That means Brahman is the source of birth, etc. of this universe. It is from Brahman that this universe comes. Now we will see how that actually happens. So the question is, we have to constantly keep in our mind the classical example of rope and snake, a dark room, and there is a coiled rope, and because of darkness, because of not properly seeing the rope, one finds snake there. That we have to constantly keep in mind, because it is not that the snake is actually coming. The snake is not born. It is an appearance. It is a feeling as though snake is there. But snake would not come without rope. Similarly, without Brahman, this universe cannot come. So that is why the source of the universe, or the reason or the cause of the universe, is the Brahman. So in that sense, Janmadi Asya Yatah. So Upanishad also we have seen, the Upanishadic authority, scriptural authority is there, Vedic authority, Yatova imani bhutani jayante, from which all these living beings come into existence. Yatova imani bhutani jayante. So further, Shankaracharya says, Janma utpattihi adihi asya iti tadguna samvigyano bahuvrihi. So here he brings little, sometimes in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, or the commentary on the Brahma Sutra, as in many other commentaries, Shankaracharya will touch upon some grammar points, as we saw in the last Sutra's commentary also. So we will not go deeply into grammar because it is not necessary. We will just see what is the context of that grammar here. So here Shankaracharya says, Janma Utpattihi. Janma means birth. Utpatti means origin. Adihi. Asya iti. So Adihi, etc. Asya iti. Of this. So here Adi has to be taken in the sense of not etc., but beginning with. Beginning with. So Janma Adi means which begins with the birth of this universe. So the birth of this universe begins with Brahman. That is the meaning. Iti, in this manner. Asya means of this means of this universe. Iti, in this manner. Tadguna samvijnana bahuvrihi. So there are various kinds of compounds in Sanskrita which are called samasa. In that one is bahuvrihi. So the bahuvrihi compound, the characteristic of that compound is that in that tadguna samvijnana, that is the vijnana, the sense has to come of the figure which is qualifying there. So sense of the member or the visheshya, that means that which is given the adjective, for which the adjective is given, that is the noun, that has to become the predominant sense. So in this Janma Adi, Adi means beginning. Beginning is a adjective of what? Janma, birth. So here we have to take the predominant meaning of birth. That is what Bahuvrihi Samasa, Bahuvrihi compound. Tadguna samvijnana, where you take the sense of the word which has been qualified. Take the sense of the word for which a visheshana or an adjective has been used, which has been qualified. So Janma Adi, beginning of what? Janma, of birth. So the beginning of the birth starts with Brahman. Beginning of birth starts with Brahman. Of this Asya, of this means, Asya means of this universe. Whatever we see, that starts with Brahman. That is the idea. So you see here also, Shankaracharya himself clarifies the context of that samasa or the compound. Tad guna samvijnanam. So he also does not unnecessarily prolong it. That is another greatness of Shankaracharya. Whenever there is a side point which has to be referred to in the course of the commentary, he does not unnecessarily go into that like many other commentators do. Interestingly, many commentators who have commented on the commentary of Shankaracharya take so much space in explaining only this part. So we have to understand that we are fortunate to get Shankaracharya's commentary, which is lucid and also at the same time profound. Janma sthiti bhanga samasartha hai. So samasartha, the meaning of the compound, is what? Janma sthiti bhanga. So the idea is that Janma Adi can be construed to be, can be understood to be, in the beginning, birth takes place like that. But the meaning of the word, the compound Janma Adi, their Adi is not important, Janma is important, because it is Bahuvrihi Samasa. The word for which Adi has been used is important. If that is the case, then Janma Sthiti Bhangam. That means Janma means birth or origin, Sthiti means sustenance, and Bhangam means destruction. So the birth, origin, and sustenance and destruction of this universe is what is samasartha hai, what is talked of here. So here, what is told? Janmadi asya yatah, from where the birth and the sustenance and the destruction of this universe takes place. That is Brahman. Janmanaha cha aditvam shruti nirdesha apeksham. Also, janmanah, of the word janma, of the word janma or of birth of this universe, cha, indeed, aditvam, the state of it being the first. So here birth is first. That is also shruti nirdesha apeksham. It is based apekshta, it is based on shruti, scriptural nirdesha statement. It is based on the statement of the Vedas. Vastu vritta apeksham. Also it is based on cha. Cha means also. In this sense, in this context, cha means also. So it is also based on vastu vritta apeksham. Apeksham, it is based on vastu vritta. Vastu vritta means nature. Vastu means of that entity or entities. So the idea of birth being the first is based both on the scriptural statement, and also on how actually things take place. Because obviously, birth is the first thing which happens. First, there has to be birth or origin. Only then other things can take place. Shruti nirdeshaha tavat. Also, the statement, Shruti, scripture or Vedas, nirdeshaha, statement. So the statement of the scripture, tavat, is this. What is the statement? The statement which is referred to here is this. Yataha vai, from which indeed, vai means indeed, from which indeed imani bhutani jayante iti. So this is a statement from the Taittiriya Upanishad. Yataha vai imani bhutani jayante. Yato vai imani bhutani jayante. Yato va imani bhutani jayante. So that the proper grammatical construction is yataha vai imani bhutani jayante, or indeed from which all these living beings are born, iti. Thus is the statement. Asmin vakye, in this passage, what happens? Janma sthiti bhanganam krama darshanat. So in this passage, that passage extends further also. In that passage, it is shown the krama, the order of janma, sthiti and bhanga. That means birth, sustenance and destruction. That is how naturally things happen. First something is born, then it is maintained, then it gets destroyed. Vastu vrittam api janmana labdha sattakasya dharminaha sthiti pralaya sambhavat. Also, so we saw how Shruti Nirdesha, or according to the scriptural statement or the statement of the Vedas, the order is Janma, Sthiti and Bhanga. That means origin, sustenance and destruction. But we also said that according to the nature of a particular thing also, that is the order. So we see Vastu Vrittam api, according to the nature of things, also Janmana, through birth, Labdha Sattakasya. Satta means existence. So Labdha Sattaka means the state of existing. Labdha Sattakasya means that which has got the state of existence, means that which has come into existence. Dharminaha, in a particular location. Sthitaya pralaya sambhavat. So even according to the nature of, in general nature of things, we see that when a particular thing comes into existence because of janmana, because of it being born, that particular thing can have or it is probable that that particular thing can have sustenance and destruction, sthiti and pralaya. It is possible. Anything which is born will have sustenance, may not also have sustenance. It is born and it dies. So there is still birth also. When a person is born, a child is born, born dead. So there is no sustenance. So like that also is possible, but then there is sustenance and then eventually pralaya. So that is also possible. Here, asya iti, the word asya or of this, pratyakshadi sannidhapitasya dharminaha idama nirdeshaha. So here, pratyakshadi sannidhapitasya. Sannidhapitasya means that which has been presented. Of that which has been presented. Presented by what? Pratyaksha adi. Pratyaksha adi means what? We have 6 means of knowledge. What are the 6 means of knowledge? Pratyaksha, direct perception. Anumana, that is you infer. Anumana is inference. Then upamana, then anupalabdhi, arthapatti, and shabda. So there are 6 means of knowing. 6 means of knowing. Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha, we know, direct perception. So through your sense organs, you know something. That is called pratyaksha pramana. So here the idea is pratyaksha adi sannidhapitasya. That which is presented by these 6 pramanas, starting from pratyaksha. So let us just briefly go and see what are the pramanas, because otherwise, how will we know what are the pramanas? We should understand. First is pratyaksha. Pratyaksha is very simple. It is knowing through sense organs. Then there is anumana. Anumana is inference. So the classical example given for anumana is that yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vahnihi. So wherever you see smoke, there will be vahni, means fire. So a person is going and then that person is traveling in the mountains and then sees smoke coming. That means there is some forest fire is there. Somewhere some fire is there. That is what yatra yatra dhumo tatra tatra vahnihi. So the dhumo, the smoke, is a sign that there is fire. This is inference. Seeing the smoke, you deduce that there is fire. This is inference. This is called anumana, inference. But it need not be fire also. It can be fog also. How will you know? If there is jalashaya. So, see, our people, acharyas, were not fools. They knew all this. So they give this exception. Exception is there. What? Jalashaya. So there is a jalashaya, that means a reservoir of water, a source of water. And it is cold, and usually in Himalayas, it will be cold. So when there is water, you will see from that water, fog is coming. So there is a lot of fog from that water. So it is like smoke. From afar, from a distance, you think it is smoke. But is it smoke? No, it is not smoke. So how will you know? Yes, that you have to, that is an exception. Now another exception is not all fire produces smoke. Like ayapindaha means taptayaha means tapta ayapinda. Aya means iron. Pinda means ball. So a red hot ball of iron. If you go to a foundry where they give different shapes to iron, you will see with a blacksmith. In those days, blacksmith will do that. You will see that there is a whole red hot ball, full red. It is iron. It has been molten, but there is no smoke, but there is fire there. So that is another example. There is an exception of this inference. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vahnihi. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Of course, we have proverb. If there is something is going on, there will be something definitely behind that. It is told for rumor. Without any fact, simply rumor cannot come. So if smoke is there, means some fire will be there, etc. So we have extended this pramana in completely empirical or completely worldly, not empirical, completely worldly, because of course this pramana is empirical, completely worldly kind of discussion. So pratyakshadi sannidhapitasya. So first is pratyaksha, second is inference, that is anumana. Third one is upamana. Upamana is comparison. So you go and sometimes comparison happens. Most of the times comparison in our daily life happens in dining table. When you are eating, something has been cooked, then you have to rake up your brain and you have to understand, oh, it looks like that. So it will be like that, like that. If you don't get good cooks, that is how you have to face your dinner. So this looks like sambar, but definitely it does not look like sambar. But anyway, comparison using upamana, you can arrive at the safe conclusion that it is not rasam, but it is sambar. The fluidity, viscosity and all may differ, but it is sambar, like that. So that is upamana. The classical meaning, the classical example given is cow. Cow has a neck which is called the flesh which falls like that, like a blanket. It is called gala kambala in Sanskrita. So it's like a blanket of neck. That is a typical thing only found in cows. So then you upamana, you compare, you see what is called sambar. There is a animal called sambar. It's a sambar deer, they say. I don't know how they came with this kind of nomenclature, naming. Why not rasam deer? I don't know. Sambar deer. Why not dal deer? Whatever. There is this famous sambar deer. Most of you might have seen it. And so the sambar deer, suppose somebody looks at from distance, then they see this is sambar deer. How will they come to know? Because from distance, it might look like a cow. So then gala kambala is not there. This thing is not there. It is there only in cow. So that comparison, upamana. So they come to the conclusion, oh, it is not sambar, it is cow. It is not cow, it is sambar. Sambar deer. So that is upamana. So you compare two things based on what you have already experienced, based on pratyaksha. So in the 6 means of knowledge, everything is based on pratyaksha. Directly you see and understand using the pratyaksha pramana or the direct perception, means of direct perception. All other 5 means depend on direct perception. So when can you do anumana? Only when you have seen something to happen. Based on that knowledge, based on that memory, you have anumana, inference. If you have never seen that fire produces smoke, you cannot infer that whenever there is smoke, there is fire. So to infer that, you have to have either the memory or the direct perception knowledge of that, which again, memory also comes from direct perception. Then it is arthapatti, artha-apatti. Artha-apatti, it's called presumption. That is the third pramana. That is the third means of valid knowledge. Fourth means of valid knowledge. Pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, arthapatti. Arthasya apatti. So where meaning is imposed or meaning is brought in. So it's presumption. How the famous example. In Sanskrita, as I have already once told, wherever we have to use the word X, Mr. X, we use the term Devadatta. So given by God, like that. So the idea here is Devadatta. Pino Devadatta. Fat Devadatta. Divana Bhungte. Does not eat in daytime. So there is one person, Mr. X, is called Devadatta. And then he he is pina. Pina means he is fat, or in politically correct language, healthy. He is healthy. You should not call anybody fat. Healthy. So healthy, but he does not eat divana bhungte. He does not eat in the daytime. So how is he healthy or fat? Because he eats in the night time. That is the presumption we have to have. So if he does not eat in the daytime and still is fat, means he is eating sometime else. So there was one person, he used to follow so many dietary regulations at his dining table. This you cannot eat, that you cannot eat. But the person was constantly growing. He was horizontally expanding. He was constantly expanding, not vertically. Horizontally, he is expanding. People were all confused. How is it possible? Food time is so much restriction. Then somebody went to his office and saw that all his drawers and all the cupboards, everything were filled with snacks. All this chips, that chips, Pepsi and all that. So that is what he was consuming. So that is why he was increasing like that. Expansion is life, contraction is death. Swamiji says that person totally misunderstood the meaning. Anyway, so Devadattaha, Pino Devadattaha Tivana Bhungte, a fat Devadatta who does not eat during the daytime. So there is the Arthasya Apati, the meaning is presumed that definitely he is eating during night. So that is the next Pramana. So we have Prathaksha, we have Anumana, we have Upamana, and then we have Arthapati, fourth Pramana. Then fifth Pramana is Anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi means not being there. Non-availability or non-apprehension. So non-availability is also a pramana. It also leads to a knowledge. What kind of knowledge? That it is not there. So you go and open the fridge and see that there is no vegetable. So I have to go to the market to buy vegetables. Because you have seen that there are no vegetables. So you are actually perceiving non-availability or non-apprehension, means not being present, absent. Like in classrooms, you go to a classroom, if you want to give some classes and you see that the attendance is very bad, students are not present. Why? Because of corona or something like that. So they are not present. So somebody has got corona, somebody is attending to somebody who got corona, etc. So that is called Anupalabdhi. So that gives a knowledge. That it is not there is also a knowledge. You go to a place and you are searching for a particular person, also in Samskrita called Devadatta. So you are searching for Devadatta and Devadatta is not there. So that means in that place Devadatta is not there. That is a knowledge. So it is called Anupalabdhi, means Upalabdhi, availability, Anupalabdhi, non-availability. Non-availability. So that is also another means of valid knowledge. So we have first direct perception, Prathaksha, then Anumana, inference, then Upamana, comparison, then fourth is Arthapatti or presumption, fifth is Anupalabdhi or non-availability. The sixth Pramana is Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana means verbal authority or verbal testimony. So if we see something is written in the Vedas, then without question we accept that. Why? Because Vedas are a pramana. Vedas are a verbal authority. Or it is also called Apta Vakya. Apta Pramana also it is called. What is Apta Vakya? An authoritative utterance or authority. So a person who has spent entire life researching on a particular field, and in a particular field you go to that person and ask some doubt, and that person says, no, this cannot be. So that is a verbal testimony. You say, no, that person has told. It is the final word. Some people have such knowledge. So we can safely conclude that, no, if that person says, then it is a final thing. Because there are so many things which we cannot understand through direct perception. Complicated subjects are also like that. So a person who has spent sufficient time in that and has given complete dedication, has dedicated one's entire life to that, that person becomes a authority on that particular subject. So that is Shabda Pramana. So generally we take verbal testimony or we take Vedic testimony, Vedic authority. Most of the times while we are discussing scriptures, Vedic statements or scriptural statements are considered to be Shabda Pramana. But also other times also a verbal testimony of a person who is considered to be an authority is also considered to be Shabda Pramana. So these are the 6 Pramanas. These are 6 means of valid knowledge. So Prathaksha Adi. So when we say Adi, here that means the other 5 Pramanas other than Prathaksha. So Prathaksha and other 5 means of knowledge, Sannidhapitasya, they present that which is presented by these valid means of knowledge, starting with Prathaksha, Dharminaha, in a particular locus or a particular location. Idama, idama means with the word idam, this, with the word or with the indication this. Nirdeshaha, indication, Shashtihi, that is the Shashti Vibhakti or the 6th case ending. So here the idea is Dharmina Idaman Nirdeshaha. So all these 6 means of valid knowledge, when they point out to this in the word asya, of this, in that there is this idam is there. That means this is there. That is actually referring to the location, the dharmina, which is presented to us by 6 means of valid knowledge. That is the idea. 6 means of valid knowledge, they present to us a location. That location is what is referred to by asya. There, janmadi asya yataha. Now what is asya? Asya means this. So when that idam ta, it is called idama. So thisness, the quality of being this. That what is the quality of being this? So suddenly somebody says this, we can't make any meaning out of that unless we see the object which is pointed to. So if I say, I take a pen and I say this, so this is the pen. Understood? I have a pen in my hand and I say this, so that is pen. Now here, asya, janmadi asya. So what does it refer to? What does this asya or this refer to? Or what has the quality of thisness in this janmadi asya? That is the question. And so here Shankaracharya says that whatever is presented to us by 6 means of valid knowledge, that is this. Whatever is presented to us by 6 means of valid knowledge is this. And that is indicated by this. Idama nirdeshaha. So it is indicated by this, whatever is presented to us by 6 methods of valid knowledge, means of valid knowledge. Shashti, Janmadi Dharma Sambandhartha. So the 6th case ending, that is asya. Here asya is the 6th case ending, that is Janmadi Dharma Sambandhartha. That connection it is drawing. What is drawing? What connection? Connection to the dharma. Dharma means qualities. Qualities of Janmadi. Qualities of birth, sustenance and destruction. Qualities of birth, sustenance and destruction. To that, the connection is drawn by the 6th case ending. So of this, when we say of this, this refers to what we see or what we are knowing using 6 methods of valid knowledge. But what does of refer to? Why of? That is Sashti Vibhakti. That means 6th case ending. Asya. So what is this of? Of this, that of refers to the birth, the sustenance, and the destruction of what we see. That is what of refers to. So here the idea is that the birth, sustenance, and destruction of whatever we understand through the 6 means of valid knowledge. Whatever we understand through the 6 means of valid knowledge. Then it is said, Yataha iti karana nirdeshaha. Very simple. By the word yataha, what is explained? It is karana nirdeshaha. It is explained that it is the nirdesha indicated, that it is the karana, it is the cause. So the cause is indicated by the word yataha. So like in the Taittiriya Upanishad that is said, yato va imani bhutani jayante. So from which all these, indeed from which all these living beings come into existence. Yato va imani bhutani jayante. So that is what is yataha means from which it comes. So that is the karana, that is the cause, that is what is indicated here. Okay, that is what is indicated here, that is what is told. So that is the meaning of the first sutra. Now Shankaracharya will go forward with his commentary. What is the thing he is saying? Asya jagataha nama rupabhyam vyakritasya aneka kartru bhoktru sanyuktasya pratiniyata desha kala nimitta kriya falashrayasya manasa api achintya rachana rupasya janma sthiti bhangam yataha sarvajnat sarvashaktehe karanat bhavati tad brahma iti vakya sheshah. Vakya sheshah means the auxiliary vakya. That means the supporting statement. We have to see something as supporting statement. What is the supporting statement? Supporting statement is this. What is the supporting statement? Asya jagatah, of this universe. Asya jagatah, of this universe. Nama rupabhyam vyakritasya. That which has been vyakrita. Vyakrita means which has been differentiated. That which has been differentiated into nama rupa, name and form. It has been differentiated into name and form. Nama rupabhyam vyakritasya, of this universe which has been differentiated into name and form. So many, it's multitudes of names and multitudes of forms are there in this universe. And also, what is the other characteristic of this universe? Aneka kartru bhoktru sanyuktasya. So this universe, as we understand it, is sanyukta, contains, comprises aneka kartru, many agents or many doers, and bhoktru, many experiencers or many enjoyers. That is the problem. This universe contains many bhoktas, bhoktrus, and many kartrus, many agents and those who think that I am the doer, and many experiencers, enjoyers. Pratiniyata desha kala nimitta kriya phala ashrayasya. And also this universe is of what nature? Which is the ashraya, which is the place of shelter, or which is the abode, which is the receptacle of pratiniyata desha kala nimitta kriya phala, of pratiniyata, constant or well defined. Desha means space. Space means place. Kala means time. Kala means time. Then Kriya. Kriya means action. And Phala means fruit. So Kala, Desha, Kala, Nimitta. Nimitta means cause. And Kriya means action. Nimitta, cause, Kriya, action. And Phala, fruit. So of all these, there is Pratiniyata. In this universe, what is there? It is constantly there. It is completely well defined. It is there. And Manasa Api. And so this world is also differentiated by mind. Of course, mind is one of the very important things which differentiates this world. So it is also differentiated by the mind. Achintya Rachana Rupasya. And this mind cannot think, cannot even fathom, cannot even contemplate. Achintya Rachana Rupasya. The mind cannot even think of the Rachana, design of this universe. So the Rachana Rupa, that is the structure of the design or the nature of the design, is unthinkable. It is achintya. It is achintya manasa api, even by the mind. Even by the mind. And so that is the world. So of such a world or such a universe, Janma Sthiti Bhangam Yataha, from where the birth and Sthiti, sustenance, and Bhanga, death or destruction of this universe takes place. What kind of universe? That's what is told, Nama Rupa Abhyam Vyakritasya, of that universe which has been differentiated in names and forms. Aneka Kartru Bhoktra Sanyuktaksya means that which contains many agents and many enjoyers. Pratiniyata Desha Kala Nimitta Kriya Phala Ashrayasya, that which is the abode or the receptacle or the substratum of constant or well-defined place, cause, and time, and action and fruit of action. That achintya rachana rupasya, manasa api achintya rachana rupasya, of such an universe of which the design of that is unthinkable of even by the mind. Of that particular universe which has these qualities, Janma Sthiti Bhangam, the birth and sustenance and destruction, Yataha, from where it happens, Sarvajnat, that is one that is omniscient, all-knowing, Sarvajnat, and Sarvashakte, that means omnipotent, means can do everything, has the power to do everything, has the power to do anything and everything, and omniscient, knows everything. Karanat bhavati, because of that cause it happens. This birth, sustenance, and destruction of this universe happens. And that is what Karanat bhavati, that Karana or cause which is omniscient, omnipotent, and Tad Brahma, that is Brahman. So what is Brahman was the question. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So the question was, what is this Brahma? So for that, the answer is given in the next sutra. Janmadhyasya asya yataha. Janmadhyasya yataha. Janmadi asya yataha. So that is what was explained. Now the idea is Tad Brahma, that is Brahman. Iti Vakya Shesha. That is what we have to give as the corollary sentence, auxiliary sentence, or supporting sentence. So that will be a complementary part of the aphorism, because then it will, Vakya Shesha means it will complete the sense of the aphorism or sutra. It will complete the sense of the sutra. Otherwise, the sense is not completed. So here, Shankaracharya very carefully and very nicely he tells how the first sutra logically leads to the second sutra. And then further also we will see that the second sutra leads logically to the third sutra, and so on and so forth till the last sutra. So he brings out the continuity between sutras. And that is what he's saying. This is what is told. Now here he will obviously posit or bring up objections or the points and counterpoints of other philosophical schools, and then he will establish his standpoint, Advaitic standpoint. All that we will see later. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Are there any questions?
Yes, Swamiji, I had one question. That is regarding Shabda Pramana and Vedic words as revelations. So can you explain these two things?
They are one and the same things.
Oh.
Vedic words as revelations are considered to be Shabda Pramana only. No more than that. In Advaita Vedanta, that is. See, Advaita Vedanta, Swami Vivekananda also says, depends on the person only. So one has to be very bold to practice Advaita Vedanta. You cannot take the prop or the support of anything. There is no support system in Advaita Vedanta. You have to do it yourself. That's why all means of valid knowledge are useless in knowing Brahman. Even the Vedas, even verbal testimony, Shabda Pramana is of no use. You have to know it yourself. They are only indicators. Is there any other question?
Swamiji, like he talked in the second sutra, it is talked about Janmadi Asya.
Janmadi Asya.
Asya. Okay. So, the moment you attach a birth to it, that means there is a death to it.
Yes.
So, how can that Brahman be like of that quality? Like when you say what is Brahman?
No, Janmadi Asya means of this universe.
Okay, of this universe.
Okay. Of this universe. Birth, sustenance, destruction of this universe. Yataha, from where it happens. That is Brahman. The cause of the birth and destruction and the sustenance of this universe is Brahman. Brahman is not born. Universe is born. And universe is sustained. And universe is destroyed. And from where does that happen? What is the karana? What is the cause of that? That is Brahma. That is Brahman.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Any question? Today, Shubhadeep, any question?
No, Maharaj.
Shubhadeep is speechless. So,
Swamiji, I have a question.
Yes.
Actually, how to distinguish Shabda Pramana in, like we have in Vedas, we have two parts, that is Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So how to distinguish Shabda Pramana in case of Karma Kanda, what kind of Shabda Pramana and Jnana Kanda Shabda Pramana? Is there any distinction between these?
Shabda Pramana means anything that is told in Vedas are all Shabda Pramana.
Okay.
The applicability of the Shabda Pramana may differ. Like you may use verbal testimony to perform some sacrifices. You may use verbal testimony to meditate or contemplate. You may use verbal testimony to give up everything. So how you use the pramana is different. But all what is told in the Vedas are all Shabda Pramana.
Okay.
So, for example, from the passage or the sentence which we just saw today, Yato va imani bhutani jayante, Taittiriya Upanishad.
Okay.
So there va means actually vai. It's a form of vai. Vai means indeed. Now this indeed is also Shabda Pramana. So from where indeed, usually we use that for emphasis. But because it has come in the Vedas, it's a valid means of knowledge. So just indeed means that's a valid means of knowledge. So that is Shabda Pramana.
Yeah.
What meaning you ascribe to it or how you apply it is a different thing. But that is Shabda Pramana.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other question? So this Ramakrishna ji today has no questions.
No questions, Swamiji.
Huh?
No questions, Swamiji. Thank you.
Oh, no questions, sir. I think from background somebody was asking questions. That might be probably to you. Any other question? No. No question. Okay. Smriti, any question?
No, Swamiji. Today I don't have any questions.
So now it is only born. So that's why now newborn, no universe is now. Yatova imani buddhani jayante. That's why no questions are coming. Once birth will be over, then they will. This I am curious about this name. What is this Trasin?
I'm sorry, Swamiji. This is Tarak Swamiji. It's
Huh?
a short form. This is Tarak Swamiji. This is short form. That's it.
Oh. No, I think there was some confusion about from where you belong or something.
I belong from Bangalore.
In some Indonesia or some Kuala Lumpur or something like that.
No, Swamiji.
Tarak
Ram.
Why do you bring sin there also?
My
The
full
whole
form
point is to
Tarak Ram.
get rid of sin, is it not?
That is to keep in me a reminder, Swamiji, so that anytime I see that, it will remind me that to get out of sin, I have to do that.
No. That is not how it works. Sri Ramakrishna says, Papi bhavle papi hai jabe. If you think of yourself as sinner, make it Brahman, no? Tras Brahman, you make it. What tras sin? You don't remind yourself of what you are not. Remind yourself of what you are. Is it not?
Yes, Swamiji.
Tras, not sin. What is this? Seriously, you had meant in that sense, or you are just given an explanation like that?
No, Swamiji. Actually, my full name is Tarak Ram Singh, so I had made it short form as Trasin.
It becomes very sin. Or either it is sounding like some trigonometric equation.
Terminology like sin theta, cos theta. Yes, Swamiji.
So, seriously, I was thinking for many days now, from which country somebody is coming like that.
No,
For one moment, I was like, oh, Brahma Sutra, some other
some
country.
alien has come in.
Anyway, all that is shattered now. But anyway, you please.
Thank God, Swamiji.
We know that it is all from our own Bangalore.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
So, no other person has any question to ask? Okay. So then we can close, I think. Smriti?
Yes, Swamiji, we can close.
Okay. Okay, namaste.